The Gomja Bar. The Gomja Bar. The high-handed.
Peace, peace, peace. Already. Thank you, Ocho Kashia. Peace, everyone. Hope y'all are enjoying the Ramadan fast and getting your insights for the evening. Well, here we are. We about to get in with, Dune, and it's not the movie that was made in 1984, but it's actually a TV series or a made-for-TV movie. Turn of the century, 2000. The actual book was made by Frank Herbert, and it's a very interesting tale. You know what I'm talking about. Shalom, Sister Deidre. Actually, Frank Herbert came up with the concept by he was researching sand dunes in Oregon, and it was a also you have to understand that Dune fundamentally was basically a cautionary tale against charismatic leaders. If you ever listen to Frank Herbert's interviews, he goes into that, and he always used the example of Kennedy. It's very interesting when I first listened to him talk about it. What it was, I was like, he must have been a Nixon supporter or something like that. Peace, brother Zach. Shalom. Let's get it. I'm already. I got the T-shirt. I told you I got the T-shirt. What I'm talking about. I got the T-shirts, bro. Shalom, brother Antonio. But yeah, it's basically a cautionary tale on charismatic leaders, but it's more deeper than that. You know what I'm talking about? It's more in depth. It's not just about leaders. You know what I'm saying? You can get a lot from the entire Dune series, and like Chief said in the archive podcast, if you want to understand which energy, read Dune, right? and he is not wrong. So before I get started, well, I'll put it to you like this. This is how we're gonna get started. We're gonna talk about when peace is in the near. We're gonna talk about the first start of the first start of the movie, right? So Paul meets the Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Moyem, right? And she's a Reverend Mother of the Bene Gesserit. And he's sent there by his mother. I thought the movie was hard to show the character development that the book got into. I would agree with that, brother Zach, just because if you see, Paul goes through such a character development. One thing you have to understand, in the books, at this time when he first meets the Reverend Mother, he's just a teenager. He's not a grown man like they show in the movie. He's not a grown man at all. So he goes through, like I said, he go in the books. He goes through a very big character development that you don't see in neither of the movies. But Shalom, Sister Aquia. But he goes through that. But he meets her, and he meets his mother brings him there. Because he's been given training that normal boys don't get, which is Bene Gesserit training, right? And it's all pretty much a setup. you know, he meets her, and it's not like in the books, but she used the voice on him, which the voice is like when the Jedi tries to basically um make somebody do what they want to do, but they can only do it on simple-minded people. Like when Qui-Gon Jinn tries to do that with Watto. He says credits will do fine, and he's like, no, they won't. Credits will do fine. He's like, no, they won't. Why are you waving your hand head at me? What you think you are? Some kind of Jedi? It's the same thing, but she used the voice, and the voice is a very monotone, I guess you could say. It's a very changing voice from an actual normal voice, and that voice basically, you know, makes people do, if they're simple minded in a sense, um, very simple minded on on what they want them to do, right? Even the Ben Dresser got busy in the books, but it was hard to see how well trained they were in the movie. Um, did the voice represent her reading one's mind? No, no, brother Zach, no. But as you said, the Ben and Just reduce. We gonna get into that. We go talk about them a lot. But he meets her, and um, his mother is dismissed. She's told to wait outside, and he's like, "Well, since when has it become, courtesy to basically, dismiss, Lady Jessica like she's a common servant?" And she's like, "She was a common servant, my servant, until your father took her." You know what I'm saying? Now, and Paul is tested at this point. Um, he's told to put his hand in a black box, right? And what he's like, what's in the box? It's pain. And she says, I hold at your neck the Gonjaba. The Gonjaba is called the high-handed enemy. Um, that's what they call it. But it's called the high-handed enemy. And he's supposed to keep his hand in the box, right? And as he keeps his hand in the box, he sees his hand basically gets melted with heat, and he feels it, Um, and he starts saying these words: I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. I will face my fear. I will let it pass through me. When fear is gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. And she's like, yes, boy, pray. What you have to understand about those words, right? Because this is a lot of information. That is a Bene Gesserit litany against fear. It was made by a Reverend Mother at one point in time, and those are the simplified. That's the simplified version of the actual litany, the litany against fear. It's basically, I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. It is the little death which brings total obliteration. You know, um, I will face my fear. I will let it. I will permit it to let it pass um, through me. Um, and when it has passed, um, there will be nothing only I remain. It's something like that, right? But you miss a lot of what is said in the larger version um, than you have in the simple version. That fear is the mind killer. But as they say, it's the little death that brings total obliteration. Um, was that a lesson in the difference between danger and fear? Yes, brother Zach, I would say so. Um, and yes, Sister Marsha, voice like a siren, vocals like a siren. But you sort of well, if you ever see that Will Smith movie where he actually explains what danger and fear is, it's like that, right? Um, but yeah, fear is the mind killer. It's within you, whereas danger, you know, is real. It's not coming from within you. Like look, if we if we in the woods and we see a bear, there is danger. That's why you'll see, that's why you'll see us go in the woods, because we know of the danger that a bear or wolf or things that can kill us um, bring. But there are some things that we are fearful of, like some of us are fearful of spiders, or different phobias. You know what I'm saying? But that's all within you. It's little. That's why it's the little depth that brings total obliteration. You know what I'm talking about? And you have to let it pass through you. You know what I'm saying? And when the fear is gone, when the fear is gone, there will be nothing. There will be no fear, because only the self, or the soul, or the spirit, only I will remain. Right? So he recites that, and by reciting that, she's basically sort of probing his mind on looks like probing the mind on the pain that he's taking. And she says, no, no human boy or child has ever withstood that much pain. What you have to understand about that scene, like in the books, um, that whole scene was sort of like two tests. One, putting his hand in the box and not taking it out, and that was before the pain came. He put his hand in the box, and that was the first test. Now the second test was taking the pain. And if he took his hand out the box, she would have killed him, because of the simple fact that this is sort of what the 1984 version gets right when that scene comes in, is that was she looking for a reason to kill him because Jessica was supposed to have a daughter? No, because it's standard. This was a standard test. Remember, it's a standard test that even his mother went through, right? So you can't say it was this is not a personal feeling that the Reverend Mother has against Jessica, right? This is a standard test. She's testing him, and in that scene, she well, it doesn't go it doesn't go into the TV series, but in the movie, the 1984 version, she goes into telling her why she's done it, and in the book she goes into it as well. Um, she she does it to see if he's an animal. You know what I'm saying? And she differentiates humanity from being an animal. If he took his hand out the box, that means that he's an animal. But if he kept his hand in, you know what I'm saying? In the book, she says like, you know, an animal would try to escape the trap, right? But a human will stay in the trap, fake death, wait for the trapper to arrive, kill the trapper, and then thus killing off one of his enemies, or one of his oppressors, in a sense. you know because what you have to understand is that the Bene Gesserit test these things because um, you could say that they're geneticists, and they have their own breeding program. See, you don't if you never read the books, At least this part, there's so much information because she explains so much to him in that one scene. Like, um, for the simple fact that because there was a lot of animal-like humans once upon a time, that was pretty much the reason why the Bene Gesserit was founded. You know, because one another reason was because of people were enslaved by machines, but more importantly, people were enslaved by people with machines from other people. Like in the 1984 version, they'll just say, "Oh, it was people. Humanity was enslaved by thinking machines," and that's not true. They were enslaved by people that had machines. And the reason why she goes into that as well is because at one point in time she goes in to say, well, at one point in time, people, you know, humanity thought that they were free by having machines think like them and taking over their task. And then because they thought they were free, which they weren't, they ended up being enslaved by people with machines. And thus, in the lore, they have a Bible called the Orange Catholic Bible, and Paul recites a verse from it saying, "Thou shalt not create a machine in the likeness of a human mind." But that but like I say, that's important because if you look at like in modern times, you see that people give up a lot of freedom to machines. Think about the freedoms that you probably give to Siri or Alexa. Even your phone. you know, you're thinking you're free in a sense, but you're sort of becoming enslaved to the machines or people with machines. People that made the phone or made Siri or made, things of that nature or made an AI robot. That could be the enslavement right there. But after that, you have to understand also that the Bene Gesserit were also found outside of the Butlerian Jihad. You know what I'm saying? That's what they call it. And it's a prequel to like the Dune series. They don't really go into it a lot, but you have to understand that's when human beings rebelled, and because they could not really think of by themselves or haven't done it in so long, thinking schools were made, and the two surviving schools, well, three, but the two surviving schools were the Bene Gesserit and the Spacing Guild. You know, would you say that they were, we say there were two logic, left brain dominant? No, can't say that. And the reason why I can't say that is because of their mystique. Um, they weren't as logical as you may think they were. Um, but I would we'll get into that, brother Zach, for sure. We would definitely get into that, right? But she goes in to talk to Jessica and says, you had a boy, you were supposed to give a daughter. A daughter Atreides' daughter could have been wed to the Harkonnen heir. You know what I'm saying? And the feud between the bloodlines would have been stopped. You know what I'm saying? She goes and say, that my Duke wanted a son. You know what I'm saying? But because of your arrogance, we may lose both bloodlines now. And she says we do what we can. Your son may be worth saving. But for the father, nothing, which basically means that the father's going to die. But what she's talking about is that, Jessica was given directive to bear only daughters to the Atreides. Because what you have to understand is that the Bene Gesserit can basically pick and choose the gender. That's how good they were. They can pick and choose the gender. They can pick and choose the gender. You don't see this within the first book, but another thing that they can do is they can stop the aging process, but they don't. They can stop the aging process. They can remain beautiful forever, but they have to have to age, but they age gracefully. But they age gracefully. But they knew that stopping the age process is taboo. But like they got busy because they held, you could say the Bene Gesserit held a commodity on breathing humans and not animals. You know what I'm saying? Having a selective breeding program to where you have, dominant and exquisite traits, you know what I'm saying, within bloodlines. And they dominated the market with that. You know what I'm saying? In that sense. But they are downright sinister. The reason why I'm about to answer Brother Zan's question, they're not logical because they're downright crazy. Because of the simple fact that it's a it's a it's a school ran by women. And honestly, those at the higher top, they never have a man. They don't. The lower rankings, they have men, but even if they do have men, they don't really listen to them because they take the directives from from the sisterhood. But like the Reverend Mothers, they don't got no dude. That's why they crazy. Similarly to that of Brave New World. They were selective breeding programs. And that's what the sisterhood was founded for. But they were crazy. And you could tell the craziness by the sinister things that they do within the breeding program. And we'll go through that later on. But one thing, so the Atreides are about to leave their planet Caladan, right? And they're getting on a ship. It's cylinder and whatnot, but they're getting on the ship and they're waiting for the Space and Guild navigator to arrive. And Paul wants to see one, but he's like, it's forbidding, because of the mystique or the mythology that Space and Guild navigators was once human until the spice changed. You got to understand that the spice is a very valued commodity. It can extend life and it can give you interesting powers that you wouldn't even dreamed of. That's what helps the Bene Gesserit, and that's what helps the Spacing Guild. This grand commodity, that's only on one planet, which is Dune, Arrakis, right? Would you say that they had no knowledge of love, or is that a concept that damaged the bloodline? They had no knowledge of it. Because if they had knowledge of it, it's like this. It seems like the ones that had the knowledge of love, they produced the most revolutionary bloodlines or the most evolutionary bloodlines. And And you could sort of say that by Jessica falling in love with the Duke, her children and her grandchildren do phenomenal things. Phen- Phenomenal things, right? But at the same time, well, I'll get into that later on about Jessica, but they do phenomenal things. But if you read the books, you be like, man, those Bene Gesserit that love their children or certain things like that, they give them Bene Gesserit teachings and things like that, and in that they become very evolutionary, very evolutionary and revolutionary at the same time, you know. But he talks to Thufir Howard, which is he's a mentat, right? And he's basically a a human, but he thinks like a computer in a sense. That's the best way to say it. Like I say, a mentat by the red juice stain lips, because they take this juice, or the juice of safu, to stimulate their mind so they can think deeper and harder, and things like that, and compute. You know what I'm saying? But you don't see that in the TV series. But that's and he explains things to Paul, and Paul asks, why do you hate the Bene Gesserit? And he's like, I don't hate them. I just don't trust them. Um, I am a mentat. I trust logic and statistics, not and mysticism and mysticism and something else. But basically, he's saying, I'm a man. You know what I'm saying? I trust things that I can see, and things that I can compute, and that's evidence of. You know what I'm saying? And I don't trust, mysticism and basically things in the female realm, because I'm not of that realm. That's basically what he's saying as a mentat. I don't trust mysticism and belief in that nature. No, he separates himself from that realm, which I like. But spice equals melanin. No, spice does not equal melanin. No, brother Zach. But I love your questions. Spice does not equal melanin. Spice equals Spice equals spice. We just gonna say it. Spice is a drug. Spice is a drug. That's what it equals to. And we're going to go into that later on, in the segment. But spice is a drug. If you do not know, that's what it is. You know. Um, but we get to see next. Well, let's talk about the navigator. Now, when the navigator arrives, he's met by his own people, of the Spacing Guild, and they set him on a platform, and he comes out of his little pod. In this version, they really mess up how a navigator actually looks. It takes the gem jams away. No, it doesn't take the gem jams away. but we're going to get into why it's a drug. But it doesn't take the gem jams away. Oh, you still gonna you gonna be well, you gonna be high, from the spice, but uh you're gonna be tripping, you're gonna be having some hallucinations out of this world. But anyway, So you see them, and like I say, they get basically the form of a navigator wrong, because actually a space and get navigator, it has always been amphibious in a sense, you know, but um he's always it is just not, he's always in like a pod filled with spice, you know. It's always in some kind of container that's filled with spice or things of that nature. And but as you can see, he's basically traveling um, the ship. You know, he sets the course. You know, Caladan, Arrakis, right? Now, the ship is supposed to promote, you know, um, traveling without moving, because basically what happens is, it's the, if you ask me, it's the navigator that's traveling. He's the one that's actually traveling. Everybody else is pretty much going along. He's basically just towing the ship along his own travels, but the ship is not moving. He is. You know, Spice is similar to Soma. The energy boost. No, Spice is not similar to Soma, because Spice. Um, okay, the best, if you want to relate it to some type of drug, Spice is like peyote. It gives you visions and things of that nature. But that's jumping the gun a little bit. But that's what it's like. But it does more than that, you know. As you can see by the navigators, it it extends life. It also does that. Unlike unlike Soma does not extend life. It takes life away, you know. But the spice extends your life. You know what I'm saying? Like in the 1984 movie, when they meet the Space and Guild Navigator, the Emperor meets the Space and Guild Navigator. He says, you know, the spice is everything. You know, the spice has allowed me to, you know, live for over like 3,000 years. You know, um, so you know, the, I don't know who calling me, but I don't know that number. But that right, and so after that, we see Baron Harkonnen, right? And you know, he talks about, you know, them having a plan. You know, he's with his mentat, Piter de Vries, and he's with his nephews, Raban, but full name Raban Glossel, and Fade, long full name Fade Rotha, right? Yeah. And they're going over the plan of, you know, basically um getting at the Atreides. You know, they're going to attack them on Arrakis, right? But they're over going over the plan. But one thing that the Baron says is that a popular man arises jealousy. You know what I'm saying? He says, and Duke Leto is a popular man. You know what I'm saying? And he's right. You know what I'm saying? But he goes into, you know, you know, he created this plan. You know what I'm saying? But he wants, you know, he wants basically the Atreides to feel safe, right? And what's interesting about, you know, the Harkonnens is one, you know, they're always seen as the villains, but it's like, if you sort of know the long story, it seems like the Harkonnens, you know, were sort of made the villains in a sense. You know, if you know, like the Valerian Jihad, because one thing you have to understand is that the Atreides, the Harkonnens, and the Imperial family known as the Corrinos, they were all there at the Valerian Jihad. they were like the leaders, you know what I'm saying, during that time. Of course, they won the main figure, a woman, last name Butler. That's why they call it the Balerian Jihad, but I forget her first name. But she was, but they were the heroes of these um of that time. But at the same time, that was the time when the Harkonnens, something, like I said, I haven't read the prequel books, but they got a bad rep. Something happened and they got a bad rep, and they blamed the Atreides for it. And so this has been a big feud for over generations. Would you say that this was based on Islamic principles, more so Sufi, more so the Sufism mystic side? Um, Partly so. Some of it is based on Islamic principles. Now, I won't say Sufism, but some of it is based on Islamic principles, just by the words that they use, But I'm not going to spoil that part yet. But yeah, you're part right. You're part right, brother Zach. But after that, you see, that the Atreides, they're finally, there at, Arakin. That's the city. They're there on Arrakis, but the city that they're at is called Arakin. For those that don't know. But as um, as they're there, Paul and Jessica are basically in a shuttle car, right? And they're talking about the eyes of the Fremen, and one thing that Dr. Yui says is that by the time a Fremen child has eyes have by the time a Fremen child has reached the age of 12, his eyes have turned completely blue, because that's what the spice does. Because they live on a planet where you can't escape the spice. Your eyes become completely blue, by the time you're 12, you know, um, and whatnot, So, um, after that, but that's good to understand, because if you know that the spice is a drug, you will realize that by the age of 12, it's a done deal for the children that live there. It's a done deal for them. Um, and so I'll get into more of the spice now. Then the spice is, it is something that extends life. It does help with evolution and everything. And it's, like I say, it's a value commodity. The problem is that you have to keep taking the spice, because if you stop taking the spice, you'll end up dying from spice withdrawal. That's why it's a drug. Because if you have to keep on taking it for the rest of your life, because of the simple fact that if you stop taking it, you'll die from spice withdrawal. And not only that, the evolution only comes if you take large quantities of the spice, like the navigators do. They take large quantities of spice to further their evolution. I swear the spice is melanin. So you can tell, okay, brother Zach. So you telling me that melanin is a drug? You tell me that melanin is a drug, and if I don't keep on taking melanin, I'm going to die. Gotta keep on taking this melanin. you know, That's what you said. If melanin is a drug, then we all need to keep on taking it. We need to get We need we don't got much melanin. We need more melanin. Otherwise we're going to die. That's why I say it can be melanin because of the fact that it furthers the evolution. But if you don't quit, if you stop taking the spice, you'll end up dead. That's why when he says by the time a child has turned 12, his eyes has turned completely blue. Basically, it's saying that you know by the time he turned a child turns 12, what I'm saying, he's going to become spice dependent for the rest of his life. He's going to become spice dependent for the rest of his life. He has to stay on Arrakis. That was the thing about Arrakis. The Fremen could not leave. They couldn't leave this place. And if they did leave, they couldn't leave for long because they always had to be around the spice. Live off the attention of melanin dominant people to survive. I can't say that, brother Zach. I can't say that. At least not for this. At least not. I would agree with you with anything else, but maybe not for this one. Maybe not for this one. Maybe I'll be a little bit nostalgic when it comes to Dune. But yeah, you reaching a little bit. But it's okay because when I used to read this, I used to think of the spice as oil. How with it can extend certain things, and we had all these things that we can use it for. But if you shut the oil off, and we were all oil dependent. You had so many. You got to think that. I have to think of this was during the 60s and way beyond that. So what was the pending the sort of the dependent drug that all countries had? One thing is oil, and that extended a lot of things. And if you cut it off, and what a lot of oil was in desert countries and things of that nature. And what was the earth? Okay. I am not messing with you. I'm messing with you, but I ain't messing with you. But yeah, that's why I saw it as oil, right? So, moving on, you see Jessica meeting the Shadow Mates, who is the housekeeper, or basically the head housekeeper at the Arakin Citadel, right? And that they live in. And she talks to Mapes, and she says, your name Shadow means well dipper. And she said, I was born in the siege, noble born. And she says, refer to me as my lady Mapes. I'm not noble born. I'm the bound concubine of the Duke. And she says, there is no wife. And she says, oh, I'm his only companion. And then she speaks, the Fremen tongue, or things of that nature. And but what you have to understand with Mate's question is that Jessica is the bound concubine, which means just that she's not the wife. And the reason why she's not the wife is because she doesn't have noble lineage, right? So that wife slot is still empty, just in case if a noble-born lady wanted to marry the Duke and become the legal wife. So that's Spice Central. Spice Central value as a commodity. It reminds me of spice trade routes and the spice wars as a commodity. Yeah, I feel you, Sister Sister Marsha. I thought that was interesting. Why didn't she lie and say that she was his wife? Because she's not noble born. You know what I'm saying? Why are you going to lie? No, and you got to think about the honor and integrity of the Duke, right? But um, she's not she's not the wife. She's not a noble. But that slide has to be you know set in just in case if there needs to be a political marriage, the Duke can have one. You know what I'm saying? And things of that nature. But after that, uh, the Duke Leto Atreides talks to Paul, and one thing he says is, self interest governs all. not not quite wife material. Yeah, pretty much. You can say that. Well, she may be. We'll go into that. But it was almost like Jessica was saying that I'm no better than you. Yeah, you can say that. Um, but he says, self interest going governs all because he knows that you know being here it's a trap. You know, they're being set up. Even though this, governing this planet gives you great wealth. But because he's popular, he knows that it will just breed him more enemies. And Paul realizes that, that this place is a trap. But he's like, well, knowing there's a trap is the first step in invading it. Sometimes that's what it is. If you know that there's a trap in your own life or wherever you are, that's the first step in evading it. That's the first step of, being able to solve the trap so you don't literally fall in. You know, um, yeah, more spice, more problems. you know, but after that, you have Jessica talks to Dr. Yui, um, and they talk about his wife, because they can't find her. What you have to understand about his wife is named Juana in the books, because I know they're not going to talk about it. But in the books, Juana is also a Bene Gesserit. She's also a Bene Gesserit. And she was she was taken by the Harkonnens. But after that, uh Kynes, he Dr. Kynes, he meets Paul and Duke Leto, right? And Dr. Kynes is the Emperor's planetologist, you know. And they go off on a basically a spice excursion where they actually view a a spice harvester harvesting the spice. And usually there's a carry-all because if a worm comes, because the worms are attracted to the spice, so they have a set amount of time before a worm actually comes and try to take the harvester. So there's always a carry-all always in place so they can instantly take the harvester so it does not get taken by the worm. But this day, as they're watching, the carry-out doesn't come. So they basically take the people, the workers, and put them in, the Duke Thopter and the escort Thopters that's around, and they jettison up into the sky. But as they jettison up into the sky, a worm comes and gobbles up the harvester and tries to gobble up the Duke Thopter, right? And then after that, it goes right back down, right? Because it's a large worm. The worms are very, very big. But then you have Kind, recite a prayer. He says, "Bless the Maker, and his water, bless his coming and his going." May his passing cleanse the world. May he keep the world for his people. you know and Paul hears this, and they land, they get back to Arakeen and whatnot, and he Kind says, as Leto and them are leaving, he says, he risked the life of his of himself and his son, to save workers. A man like that could command fanatic loyalty, you know, which was very interesting, saying how, someone that has that compassion to, I guess you could say, the working man, can command fanatic loyalty by being nice to, the little guy, something different about this one, right? Because they're not like the Harkonnens. The Harkonnens didn't care. But after that, we have basically Duke Leto talking to Paul, and he says, in Caladan we rule by air and sea, but here we need desert power to rule. You know what I'm saying? I say on the shuttle train, and that's so telling, because he's basically saying we cannot use the tactics or the power or the cultural things that we would use from our own home world for this place. We need, desert power to rule here. You know what I'm saying? We have to have the support of the Fremen and the people here. You know what I'm saying? Because having the support of just where we're from is not, it's not going to be enough to rule here. That's pretty much what I got from there. And as the show is going by, you see the Fremen saying Mahdi to Paul, right? And as we know, the Mahdi means Messiah, right? And then we go to Gidi Prime, where the Fade is battling the slave, and Raban, he wants to strike, strike the Atreides that are at Arrakis. He's like, man, we should strike now. We already got a traitor. What we waiting for? And like Sister Cassia said, hit the like, share, subscribe button, But say what we waiting around for. And so the Baron is like, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, he's like, I want them to feel confident. Confident breeds distraction. And that is when one is most vulnerable, and as he says that, Faye kills the slave, right? But I like how he says that. He says how confidence can breed distraction, and that is when one is most vulnerable. As basically like there's so many quotes, and they're so Machiavellian. You know what I'm saying? And that's what makes the political intrigue so so wonderful. Side note: did the worms represent the flag or reach it again? Zach, you are acting up. You are acting up, bruh. You are acting up. No, Zach. No. Yes. Say less. Like, You know what? It's okay. It's okay. But anyway, so okay, back to my point. Okay, Paul meets Kynes and like the little sanctuary um where there's plants because nothing grows on Arrakis, but there's plants in this little sanctuary because there's water there, right? And he's talking about how it needs new Dune collector and things of that nature, and he tells Paul, he did look. Zach, I want to put you in a corner, so just go to the corner. But you know what? Forget it. I'm not entertaining you. But he talks with Kynes, and one thing that Kynes says is that we deal with the law of the minimum here. Unless we learn to live with it, things can never change. You know, and you know, and Paul says, "Oh, so you saying things can change?" Here, and he's like, "That depends on who the steward of the desert is." And then he says, "The one who will come, the Mahdi." And then he leaves. But then you see that after that, you see that the Fremen deal with the law of, like I said, the law of the minimum. They only take what they need and things of that nature. That they're built for survival. And in that sense, and they learn to live with it. You know what I'm saying? Because if they don't learn to live with it, things can never change. In that sense. But Paul gets a hit out on him by a Hernes seeker. It only tracks movement in his room, right? But the Shadow Mapes opens the door and it goes for her, but he grabs it and puts it in water and things of that nature. But she tells Paul that they have a traitor and it's somebody very close, very close. Um, so with that, you see that he talks with his father again. Like his father really, basically just gets. It seems like his father really gets him prepared to be the dude with his teachings, right? And Paul, is talking about, they're talking about the assassin and who could it be? You know what I'm saying? And Paul's like, it can't be Gurney, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, he knew your assassin was worth more alive. And it couldn't be Thufir, or he don't have this intelligence. No, you is intelligence. It can't be you. His imperial suit conditioning will drive him mad. And for those that don't know, Dr. Yui went to a Sook school for being a doctor, and he has a purple diamond on his forehead to show that he's trustworthy and that he can even be the physician of an emperor, because he's gone through the highest training. And if he was to betray, that conditioning would drive him mad. That's basically what that is. But I know that the series doesn't show that, but that's what that actually means. But Leto says, never let sentiment cloud your judgment. And those were, basically, like say Machiavellian, but wise words. Sometimes you can never let sentiment cloud your judgment if you're looking for the traitor. Crown of gold or thorns. I I don't know. I don't know, brother, brother Zach. I don't know. Crown and gold or thorns. I don't know. Um, but he says, you know, Paul says, so this is how it works. They sow the seeds of distrust and get us to fear each other, and whatnot. And and then Leto says, to hold a racket, you must fight fear with fear, fear and power. you know. So basically, it was like he's saying, you must fight fear with fear, but you must also have power or the truth to back you up. You must, people must fear you, and you must have the truth or power, to fight that fear with fear, but not the the cowardly fear that's inside you, but the fear of people being scared of you. you know. Um, so this is they're at a party, that the Atreides are holding, and you see Jessica is basically, on the arm of the Duke, and she's basically telling him the VIPs, at the party and things, so he can remember and speak to them and whatnot. And basically she's carrying out her, wifely concubine duties, basically reporting to him the VIPs of the party. You know what I'm saying? And one special VIP that comes is the Princess Irulan Carino. And she comes with uh, Sardaukar. Um, One thing you have to know about the Sardaukar is that they're trained to be the most vicious soldiers of the empire. They are they are the soldiers of the emperor. And they they're basically they're basically trained on their own basically world, which is called Salusa Secundus. You know what I'm saying? It's very Spartan like, if if you will, but yeah. um and so as they're having dinner and things and talking, you hear Paul says, one's fiercest competition comes from one's own kind. You know what I'm saying? What he's talking about, is basically is that the Carino and Atreides are related. The Emperor Shaddam and Duke Leto, they're cousins. So that's what he means. You know what I'm saying? Because he knows that, the Emperor, is not with them, he's not on their side. So, but he naive or stupidly says it out loud to Irulan, and for anybody with ears to hear, right? But he says that, and then you have, um, another person talks about, how the Fremen supposedly takes, a dead person's blood, and then Kynes explains that it's not the blood, it's the water, they take all of a dead man's water, and how the body is 70% water, and surely a dead man, does not need any of it, right? But after that, you see Paul confronting Gurney about, if he was a traitor, and Gurney's like, man, don't basically don't come at me with that. Your father saved me from the Harkonnen slave pits, and made me his war master, the man or woman that that lays a hand on him will have it cut off by me as a prelude to their death, right? Now what he's saying is, at this time, because they don't go into the they don't go into this in the movie, but in the books, Jessica is seen as a traitor by this time, right? And one reason you notice is because I know they don't bring Duncan Idaho into this part a lot, but in the books, Duncan gets drunk, and then when people get drunk, they tell things they ain't supposed to tell. Well, he says, that the Bene Gesserit witch is going to kill, is going to betray us all, and right in front of Jessica. And that's just not his opinion. That's also Thufir's opinion. And but unlike Duncan, she tells him, to take him to his quarters and have him sleep it off. But she confronts, Thufir about that in the books, because they see him, they see her as the primary suspect because she's been adjusted for one, but they see her as the primary suspect. And as you can see in this one scene, that's what Gurney is relating it to. They think that it's Jessica that's going to betray the Duke. But like I say, in the books, she confronts Thufir about that. You know what I'm saying? But after that, Paul talks to Irulan, and they have a little, flirtatious, scene together, you can say. She tells him never judge a book by its cover, and how she's trying to interest him because they trade, basically sob stories in this scene. How she talks about her father, basically damns her mother every day, basically curses her mother every day for having daughters instead of sons. And the reason why is because her mother is Bene Gesserit. You have to understand that this is thousands of years into the future, into the future. And so, human beings, human females are able to pick the gender. And because she's Bene Gesserit, they told her probably you can have only daughters. But the emperor of basically of these worlds, he wanted a son, and she denied him a son, and because of that, he took it out on her. He took it out on his daughters and everything, because he didn't get what he wanted. You couldn't escape them, but. They dance a bit, but she has to leave, because the Sardaukar is like, okay, time to go, and Gurney and the Sardaukar captain are squaring off, and that's the end of that, right? And so Paul has a dream of, basically the death of his father, but he doesn't understand, what's going on with him, right? Because he has more than one dream. He has one at the start of the film, and then he has another one just now, And after that, Leto meets Stilgar, and you see an exchanging culture where Turok, one of Fremen, ended up dying to help Duncan Idaho, and so they want dual basically dual loyalties of Duncan Idaho, where he'll serve the Fremen and he'll serve Duke Leto. And then and Stilgar says, it's cool because our leader, he serves two masters, But the deal or the contract as it's done, Stilgar spits on the floor. And so, their trading's about to get offended, but then here comes Paul's like, thank you for your, you know, the, the you know, giving of your water still, God. We accept, this gesture in the spirit which was given, you know.
I must not fear.
So as you can see, water is very precious to Iraqis, and even spitting on the floor is
Fears the mind
a
killer.
sign of great
Fears the poison that
respect, you know what I'm saying, or high honor, because you're giving of your water, which is precious
I won't permit you
in a desert planet, to show that respect and how you will honor your contract in a sense, you know. Um,
fear has gone, there will be no
so
peace.
after that, right, here comes the setup, right? Here comes the attack, and Mape ends up dying, and Duke Leto is there, and she says, traitor, how the guards are, and the shields, are down and whatnot, and
His path, where the fear
basically,
there will be blood.
yeah, blood bond in a sense, bro. So
What's in the box?
you will.
What's in the
Leto
box?
is paralyzed, from a dart. And then we find out the traitor is Dr. Yui. It's not Jessica, it's Dr. Yui. Um, and in this, in the books, it's more in depth. He he basically says, I want to kill a man. You know what I'm saying? No, and it's not you. You know what I'm saying? But yes, I betrayed you, and I'm sorry about that. But I want to kill somebody. And to atone for my betrayal, I'm gonna give you this poison tooth. And when you see the Baron, when he looks and gloats over you,
Pain,
um, I want you to remember the tooth.
not going to
Bite down on it, and he will, you will kill him. Um,
would remain trapped in
and
pain.
also,
Endured
um,
feigning death that he might kill
in
someone.
return as well, he'll save Paul and Jessica, right?
Why are you doing
And
this?
so, the attack is going on. You see the Harkoons storming everywhere, but then you hear Gurney say,
You feel that
you
too.
know, oh, there's Sardaukar here. So you have to know that even the Emperor is in on this, right?
You fall
And
into
he
the trap.
sends his Sardaukar
At first,
along with
you thought he would feel pity,
Harkonnen troops
lack of compassion.
to attack the Atreides.
But he could not drop you away.
Nobody hates better than family,
He
you
waited.
know. And so,
What's in the box?
you know, um,
What's in the box? Pain, pain.
when the attack is over, and whatnot, you see, the Baron is there, and he's got, the Duke chained up and whatnot, and he talks to Doctor Yui, um, and Doctor Yui asks, do where's my wife? Where's my Wana? You say if I do this, you'll free her. You know what I'm saying?
Pain,
And he says, yeah, I freed her. And he brings in a dead corpse, Wanda's dead corpse. He said, I freed her from her mortal coil. Since so I'm a man of my word, I freed her.
pain.
You know what I'm saying? And then, Dr. Yui gets shanked by Fade. You know what I'm saying? But he says, you think I've gained nothing? In the books, he says, think I gained nothing.
Sound like flesh.
Because of the simple fact that he gave Duke Leto the poison too. But you also have to understand that the reason why he gave him the poison too was because his wife Juana taught him certain things on how to basically not trust everything and always have a backup plan. That's essentially what she always what she taught him at one point in time in the past.
Call someone.
And so, you have Baron says, never trust a trader, not even one you create. You know what I'm saying? Um, and that's a good That's a good lesson, even for double agents, But he talks and gloats, you know, over 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 the Duke, right? And he says, he brings up the emperor. He's like, "Oh, your dear sweet emperor." Well, that just goes to show, never get more popular than the boss, unless you attend to sack him. He's like, "Oh, did I just say that?" It's just funny, you because he can't really get his hands dirty with all of this because of the simple fact that he has to see the emperor's truth teller, which is Gaius Helen Moyem, that we saw in the beginning. She's the emperor's truth sayer, so in order to tell the truth in some type of way, he has to say, I don't know. I don't know what happens to this. We can't have all that, royal blood on our hands, But I like how he says that. He says, never get more popular than the boss unless you intend to sack him. Basically, unless you intend, to kill him, But he goes because he's like, this is Canley, Pida. This is vendetta. That's what they call vendetta, or revenge. Canley, right? And he says, my family, really has suffered these dang on Atreides for so long. They have been stinking our meals. Them arrogant Atreides always getting in our way. I want him to know that it is I, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, am the instrument of his family's demise. Things like that, because like I say, the issues that those two families have is long. You can tell, and but you can also tell that there's never been reciprocity between those two. That's why I got so bad. There's never been reciprocity, apparently. If I probably read the books by Duke, Frank Herbert's son, I'll probably get more insight. But pertaining to the original series, there's never been reciprocity between those two, or those two bloodlines, right? Because, like I say, this is generational. And so we see that Paul and Jessica and Desna in the books, they are captured, and Paul, they're flying, and with Harkonnen troops, and Paul uses the voice and gets one of the pilots to remove his mother's gag and bonds, and she uses the voice and have them kill each other, and then they're able to use a thopter in that moment. But Paul and Jessica in the desert, and they he says his father's dead, because he bit down on the tooth, and he didn't kill the Baron, but he killed Piter de Vries, the Mentat. But they're walking in the desert for a minute, but Duncan saves them, and you see Dr. Kynes is piloting the thopter, and they go basically to a base, a Fremen base, you could probably say, and one of the people called Kynes Liet, and Paul heals it, and he's like, they called you Liet. You're the leader, he said, and he says, I prefer the term guide to leader until the Mahdi comes, And so after that, we see that the Harkonnens basically send like, I don't know what you would call their aircraft, but they send, planes or whatever to, basically bomb the base. And Paul and Jessica escape, and whatnot. But Duncan dies, right? And as basically the Harkonnen planes are, on the tail of, Paul and Jessica stopped her, they fly into the storm, and then you have, Paul says, the litany against fear. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. I will face my fear. I will let it pass. Oh, I will let it pass through me. And when the fear is gone, with nothing, only I remain. And then you have, Irulan says, it is said, that when, you know, when, the Atreides fell out of Arrakis, a comet went past, basically flew across the sky on Caladan. They say a star exploded, but in the books it's a comet that sails through the sky on Caladan. And then she says the saga of Dune is far from over, right? And that's the end. But like I say, it's a lot. It's so much. I don't even think I hit all the points that I probably wanted to, right? But I mean, you see so much in just part one. You you know, and it's a lot. It is so much. You know what I'm saying? You have uh, generational um, discord and fighting between houses and like I say, bloodlines, that span generations, and it doesn't stop. I like how, the planet that the Harkonnens came from was called Gidi Prime, because when I think of Gidi Prime, I can think of that Gidi, the last name Gidi from the from Haitian voodoo with Baron Samedi and Mama Brigitte and things of that nature. That called their family is called Gidi, but where the Harkonnens come from is called Gidi Prime, you know. Um, but as you can see, like I say, we're going to be touching on more about the Bene Gesserit in part two and part three. I couldn't pack everything in, just one volume or one part, especially since this it's like I said, the TV shows like the books, and and I wanted to give it at least a lot of book feel as I could, what I'm talking about. So I mean, like I say, you have a lot. You have the Bene Gesserit, manipulating bloodlines just to create the Krizat's Haderach, the super being, um, basically the one that would be many places at once, and things of that nature. And oh, bruh. Give thanks, brother Zach. No problem. Like I say, I love the series, so I read the book. I read the books. I read the books. You know, so I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy talking about it. Because it's a very fun series and whatnot. But Bevakasha, Sister Kashia. So that takes a lot out of you. Join us next strong, and we're going to talk about part two, and we're going to talk about more about the Bene Gesserit breeding program. We're going to get into more. We're going to get into more about the Fremen, and what else? We're going to talk about the water of life and things of that nature. Does he in part two? No, I don't think he. Well, we'll find out. But yeah, we're definitely going to get into that, because there's just some things that sometimes the TV series gets out of order. You know what I'm saying? That I have to explain in like the second part in order for you to understand. So that's what we're going to do. And like I said, the spice is going to flow. You know what I'm saying? The balance of the houses is going to be maintained. But just think about that. How you had a sisterhood that thought of a breeding program the problem is, that's why I say they were crazy, is because they really didn't have a culture to back them up. They didn't have no man. They didn't have no men, and those that did were rebellious to to the head, and those that weren't, ended up doing some things that were sort of phenomenal. But even though Jessica did something phenomenal, she also had a lot of ego, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Jessica and her ego because you don't see that until it's in the later books, but you don't see somebody call her out on it until one of her grandchildren call out on her ego and what she did and things of that nature. But we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. So enjoy the rest of the day or night, wherever you are, and like I said, we will see you next strong. So peace, everybody. Give thanks. I appreciate everything. Yeah, I'm done. I'm done. So give thanks. Peace. Shalom.